The Trump administration is exploring dramatic cuts to programs and staff at the U.S. Department of Education, including executive action shuttering department programs that are not protected by law and calling on Congress to close the department entirely. On Tuesday, the White House confirmed to NPR the broad contours of its plan, and that the executive action would be issued by the end of the month. This looming executive action comes after the Trump administration, in recent days, placed dozens of Education Department staff members on paid administrative leave with little explanation, saying only that the moves were the result of President Trump's executive action targeting federal diversity programs. Taken together, the news has unsettled department staff and is sure to come up in the Senate confirmation hearing for Trump's nominee to be Education Secretary Linda McMahon. That hearing has not yet been scheduled. Ben Mycelas and Michael Popek are back on the top-rated Legal AF podcast to discuss the tsunami of injunctions and restraining orders against Donald Trump and Elon Musk in the first 18 days of the administration, with 42 cases already filed and 11 major victories for the rule of law. A brand new federal injunction against Elon Musk stopping him from accessing Americans' most private and personal financial and health data. Pam Bondi's destruction of the Clipchamp task force, which is a win for Putin, and so much more at the intersection of law and politics. The Independent thanks all of you who are willing to fight this fight.
A tsunami of injunctions issued against the Trump administration for their unlawful acts, whether it was the late-night Friday order forcing the Treasury Department to stop Elon Musk and Musk's team from getting access to information, also compelling Musk and Musk's team to immediately destroy all of the data they've obtained. That was a big win by attorney generals across the country, led by none other than New York Attorney General Letitia James. She's back. Whether it's Trump-appointed judges like Judge Carl Nichols ruling against the Trump administration on their attempt to just totally fire pretty much everybody from U.S. aid with very little notice, and thus stranding people internationally, potentially killing hundreds of thousands or thousands of people who may not get the medications that the FBI class actions filed by FBI agents against the Department of Justice for trying to out their names to January 6th insurrectionists, whether it's injunctions like the one issued from the state of Washington on the issue of birthright citizenship, and that birthright citizenship is in the Constitution. Hence, you can't, via executive order, overturn the United States Constitution, whether it's injunctions emanating out of both Rhode Island and Washington, D.C. to stop Donald Trump's government funding freeze, or whether it's an injunction also in Washington, D.C. to stop Donald Trump's cruel and unusual policy to take trans women in prison, take off their clothes, and throw them in general population in male prison showers. Folks, I'm not making this up. The judge said that is cruel and unusual and absolutely a villainous act to do. Federal judges are standing up, even Trump-appointed judges, Reagan-appointed judges, Democratic-appointed judges. We're seeing that. And as that's happening, the Trump administration is just further trying to tear down our government every single day, tear down the guardrails of law and order, full buyouts to try to push out everybody in the CIA, trying to push out people in the counterterrorism division of the FBI, dismantling the kleptocracy unit, an elite special division within the Department of Justice that seizes Russian oligarch asset used to try to spread disinformation and try to influence and corrupt people in the United States. Is that a shocker that that's one of the first things that the Trump administration tried to dismantle? And also now we're seeing, Elon Musk and his kind of band of misfit, 19 and 23-year-olds trying to do this now in each agency, forcing AGs, civil rights groups to kind of play whack-a-mole here to stop them, identify them. And like Musk has like literally his team of kids, or they're not kids, they're adults, but they act like kids, sleeping in the government agencies, like with their families now, restricting access to government workers. I mean, this is about we the people. Who are these oligarchs literally cooing in our buildings that belong to we the people? Well, the law is fighting back. This is what we said was going to happen with AGs and lawyers stepping up in this time. It means a lot for us to cover here on Legal AF as well. Let's bring in Michael Popak. Mr. Popak, how are you doing, sir, on this weekend?
Barely sleeping with what's happening with the winning that the rule of law is doing against the Trump administration. 41 cases in 18 days. And so far, the track record is 11 wins and 2 temporary setbacks for the rule of law against the Trump administration. Those are Hall of Fame numbers right there. I'll never tire of that kind of winning. The 41 cases are all in the right places. They're in the original colonies of the United States, from Rhode Island down to New Jersey. They're in the West Coast, from California up to Washington, in D.C., and multiply filed on major issues that Donald Trump has put front and center in front of the American voter and the American people. Because of these all stem from his executive orders, most of them signed on the 20th of January on day one. So if you're doing the scorecard at home, we're going to cover a lot of these today. You've got just on the temporary restraining order, the injunction tsunami that you let off with. We had 2 about birthright citizenship as attempt to rip out the heart of the Constitution when it comes to citizenship by executive order. We have 2 about cutting off the spigot in a mean-spirited, inhumane way of federal funding to the states and to not-for-profits. That's separate from the TRO about shutting off $60 billion of aid across the world to the disadvantage, which also promotes our business interest and our diplomacy. Again, all done without giving anybody warning, not even saying like a sundowning, like, well, 6 months from now or 3 months from now or a year from now. No, overnight, so that people's lives are literally turned upside down, as is the American economy. So we got a couple of TROs about federal funding, one about the inhumanity and depravity of putting transgender women in male population jails. We've got 2 temporary restraining orders blocking some version of Elon Musk and Doge. We've got 1 temporary restraining order preventing the firing of government employees with the Fork memo, which we'll talk about more. We've got a temporary restraining order arising out of 2 FBI agent cases about their being decapitated and thrown out of their positions. We've got 1 involving U.S. aid that you touched on, issued by a lot of them, even issued by Trump judges like Carl Nichols. We got 2 separate, that's temporary restraining orders. Then we got 2 preliminary injunctions, which is the next level, soon to be 3 preliminary injunctions concerning 2 on birthright citizenship and 1, I'm sure it's going to be handed down on Friday in New York, about Elon Musk rummaging around our privacy, personal information, financial information, health information, all housed on Treasury Department servers. The Trump side has only gotten, in their Department of Justice, has only gotten 2 minor wins.
There is a silver lining behind all what the GOP and Trump is doing. The more they hurt the people, the more their futures will be shit. They will lose the House in 2026. When we have the House and the Senate, Trump will have his impeachment, and most likely his jail time. If he is even alive.